guys. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here, and hello to you guys online. So I'm just going to start letting you guys know a little bit what I do. So I'm Taylor. I'm Mr. Sosa's wife, and I'm also a board certified behavior analyst. And basically what that means is I help people increase behaviors that are helpful to them that we want to see, and then decrease problematic behaviors that might interfere with their life. I mostly work with kids on the autism spectrum, and I help them with their communication and just lowering those behaviors that, arise because of their lack of communication, maybe aggression and different things like that that really interfere with their independence in their daily living. But the things that I'm going to talk about today, those things you can use on anyone. Those principles apply with anybody, with your children, with your spouse. I use it on my spouse. He gets mad at me, but yeah, you can use it. It applies with anybody. So so I want to start first with a question. Let's start the next one. My question is, what are some behaviors you see from your child that you feel like needs change? And you can raise your hand or whatever.
Oh, you want to tell you?
Yeah, tell me what are some that you're dealing with at the moment that you're like, oh.
Well, I can tell you mine, because in my house he's phenomenal, but it's a split house. So like my house is structured. He knows exactly what he has to do. His shoes go here. Everything has its place. Everything has its job. He knows. But then he goes to mom's house, and then I hear from the teacher that he's fighting her to come to the classroom. He just doesn't listen with the opposite parents. So I try to tell him, hey, if you want good things from me, you're gonna have to listen over here. But so it's trying to influence the other side from a resistant parent.
That's tough. Yeah.
And then he changes personality.
Yeah.
But he changed personality over there. So I'm trying to put my influence into him over there.
Mm-hmm. So you're dealing with non-compliance,
exactly.
In different places, not with you, but with other people. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
He's always in the cloud.
I'm sorry?
He's always in the cloud.
He's in the clouds? He's just daydreaming? Not paying attention?
You will be doing some work and like that. And you can spend 15 minutes looking at him, he's going to stay just like that. You don't say, I call.
So he's just really distracted. Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Katie can talk on herself. She's super trying at me. She's not taking it easy. She's just very and I'm worrisome. She's a perfection. Yes. But I think she's so little. Take it easy.
Yeah. Okay. And do you have one?
I think with Taylor, she just gets very anxious about things. We notice little things.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So, does anybody online have? Anybody on Zoom? I don't know if you have to unmute yourself or no. Okay. So like you guys are saying, we could see non-compliance. Maybe certain things she might be doing when she's anxious. There's a lot of. It seems like you guys have older kids, third, fourth grade, second. Yeah, because in toddlers, I was gonna say if you have a toddler, you're gonna see a lot of different behaviors than with older kids. So with a toddler, you might see a lot of more aggression, more hitting, biting, tantrums. Obviously, you guys go through the terrible twos. We haven't got there yet. We're new parents. We have 4-month-olds, so we're not there yet, thankfully. But I'm gonna need advice from you guys when I get there. But yeah, so you might see that, and then with your older kids, you might see a lot more non-compliance, not wanting to do any chores, do the dishes, and not wanting to do their homework, or they're not listening in class, or they're calling out in class, wanting attention. So you might see more of that. So when you have a behavior like that, let's say it's non-compliance, you want to ask yourself 2 questions. The first question being why? Why are they behaving this way? Why are they, not listening to mom, or not listening to the teacher, or not listening to dad? Why are they hitting, or why are they fighting? Why are they doing these things? Okay, so there are 4 typical reasons that we do things. Number 1, and I have an acronym. You could go ahead. EATS. Okay, so number 1, it might be for escape. They want to escape maybe a demand that you just placed on them, or maybe you're telling them, hey, you need to go do the dishes, and now they're picking on their sibling all of a sudden. And it's because it's kind of postponing the dishes. Okay, so they might be doing something because they want to escape. Number two, they might be doing something because they want attention. And this could be bad, like bad attention, like they want to be reprimanded, like any attention is attention. So they might be doing something, calling out in class is something that's very typical, or, having a tantrum, or anything, any behavior really could be for attention. Or it could be for a tangible, maybe they want something. This is like typical, you might see in the grocery store one time where a kid just like starts screaming and falling on the floor because they want something, they want a snack that they see and you're not giving it to them. And so now we're having a freak out moment because you're not giving me something. And then the last one could be because it feels good. It's a sensory behavior, it feels good. They might be sucking on their thumb, or, something that I deal with a lot is kids that hand flap, because that's very common with kids with autism. And that's just a sensory behavior. It feels good. That pressure that they get feels good. And you don't want to ever assume that a behavior is happening because of escape or because of attention or because you need to really dig deep and figure out if that's the reason, because it might just be a sensory behavior. Okay, so you make sure that you really know why the behavior is happening. And then, so the next thing I want to mention before going on to our next question is whatever happens immediately following a behavior either increases the chance that the behavior is going to happen again, or decreases the chance that the behavior is going to happen again in the future. So I have an example. My sister-in-law, her son keeps biting her, and she's like, why? Like, he keeps biting me, and she doesn't understand why he keeps biting her. So I asked her, what's happening right after he bites you? She says, he bites her, she like screams, tries to pull away, and then he goes and he gives her a big hug, like if he's saying sorry. So she feels bad. So she's like, oh, he's like saying sorry. So she gives him a big hug. So I told her, he wants attention because he's biting you, and then he gets a big hug. So he thinks, oh, the bites gets him on like riled up, and then he gets me a big hug. So of course, he's gonna continue biting her because he gets that attention that he seeks. Okay, so whatever happens following a behavior, that's gonna increase or decrease the behavior in the future. Okay, and then our second question that we need to ask ourselves, so not only why does a behavior happen, but how can I replace the behavior? Okay, so I'm gonna go down our functions of behavior, so escape. Let's say a behavior is happening because they want to escape their homework. So I was saying about the picking on the sibling. Okay, they're picking on their sibling, they want to escape their homework. So what can we do to replace that picking on the sibling? They can ask for maybe 5 minutes before they have to do their homework again. Okay, and maybe you put a timer and you say, okay, I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. After they ask appropriately, Mom, can I have just 5 more minutes before I have to do my homework? Sure. Or 5 more minutes before I have to do the dishes? Sure. But let's put a timer and let's give them that time. And now they're asking appropriately. So that's an appropriate behavior that you want to reinforce, and you're still eventually going to get them to do what you need them to do. Okay, let me slow down because I'm like going fast. I'm not the public speaker, that's my husband.
You're doing a great job.
Okay, and who makes you over here? Okay, okay, and then, yeah, so that would be like an example of a behavior that you would replace in the case of escape. You want the replacement behavior to get what they're seeking. So if they're seeking escape, you want that replacement behavior to get them the escape, but you want it to be an appropriate behavior. Obviously, not picking on their sibling, not having a huge tantrum, not, giving you attitude. Okay, and then, attention. This is something that a lot of people make a mistake with, because you do want to discipline your child, you might want to scold them in the moment, but they might be seeking your attention, and that attention, that's actually attention that you're giving them. You might be scolding them and disciplining them right there, and you're giving them the attention that they want. So it might be increasing that behavior in the future. So you want to make sure you give them that attention, but don't give it to them in that moment. So remember, after the behavior, it's going to increase or decrease. So after that behavior occurs, don't give them the attention, ignore them. You know that it's for attention. Walk away. This is what I told my my sister-in-law to do. He bites her, you know, he's biting her, so she's got to first get him off. But get him off and then walk away. Don't yell, don't make a big scene, just walk away. He's not going to get a hug in that moment. He's not going to get attention. And then later, you know, he does something good, he's playing independently, quietly, that's when we can, oh, let's give him a big hug. Okay, so you want the replacement behavior to give them attention, but you want it to be an appropriate behavior. And then for tangible, same thing. If it's an activity that they're seeking for this activity, do not give them that activity immediately following that inappropriate behavior. They need to stop behaving that way, and then, you know, maybe comply to an instruction, sit on the table, let's wait 5 minutes. And then once they comply and they're behaving appropriately, that's when you can give them that activity. And then sensory, that's going to have to be something that they replace the behavior with that's appropriate, you know. So like I said, with the hand flapping, we usually have them hold their hands together and squeeze, because it still feels good. It's still the pressure that they're searching for, but it's not like possibly hitting somebody next to them. It's more appropriate. Yeah, and then that's it. The last thing is be consistent. You do not want to be constantly providing these consequences that are different every time, and then sometimes they get the attention they want for the bad behavior, and sometimes they don't. They're gonna keep behaving that way. It has to be every single time they behave that way, they don't get the attention, you provide it later, then that behavior will stop. But if you do it intermittently, it's gonna keep going. So make sure you're super consistent. And the last thing is, I never want to not put value on prayer, because we need to be praying for our kids. That's number one. They absolutely need prayer when it comes to discipline, and we need prayer. You guys need prayer as parents. So prayer is very powerful, and I definitely encourage you guys to pray. And that's it.
Any questions?
Any questions? Really questions?
Specific.
With anxiety, I know that some of the parents have children that are a little anxious, you know, and that's one thing that we can see, that every child is different. Every child has a different personality. And as you all know, we'll have children that you'll look at them and that's all they need. And they'll listen to you. Yeah. And then you have others that you can look at them, you can give them a consequence, you can do lots of things, and they won't listen. And so that is something that, you know, we have to consider. But Ms. Taylor, if you can share maybe some helpful hints for
so for anxiety, I mean, think about what kind of behavior specifically are they doing as a result of that anxiety? And then is there something that you can replace in order for that to be, you know, something that might be a little more helpful, that can be a replacement for that behavior, I would say.
Michael got a separation anxiety.
Separation.
Because his mother died. You always think I'm gonna die also, or something gonna happen. So not being with me is like a big thing for him. So at night time, before you go to bed, you pick up my hand, make me sit on the sofa. As big as Michael is, he will be on my lap, sleep on my lap first before you go to bed.
Yeah.
I try everything.
Yeah, I mean, with that, and it's, you have to be sympathetic towards him, because he's gone through that. It's really difficult, of course.
But it's been 2 years, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I would just like fade yourself out. You know, if he's still having to sleep with you, maybe
No, he doesn't sleep with me.
on your lap.
So he used to, but right now what I do, I put him on the bed and I sit on the chair by his bed.
Okay.
I keep talking so he can listen to my voice until he goes to sleep.
Okay, well, if that's something like you're not able to do and you want to kind of phase yourself out, maybe you're there for a certain amount of time at first, and then slowly start decreasing that time until eventually you're just like, you say goodnight and he's able to go to sleep by himself. And yeah. Any other questions?
Specific behavior. Get your money's worth out. Online.
I mean, I don't actually, know your children, and so I can't give you like perfect, like do this, but I can answer general questions. Anybody online? Any questions?
Mine, I told you a little bit, is I'm trying to exert my authority, I guess, over him when he's over there. Like, hey, because I know my mom works here, so like she sees everything when he's here. Like I know, I have eyes everywhere, so I kind of get words that he's behaving differently when he comes to her house. So I sat and talked to him like, why are you acting up? Tell me the truth. He told me yesterday, he was like, no, I got an argument with B, which is his grandma. And I'm like, okay, I didn't discipline him because he told me the truth. I'm like, all right, you're cool, like that's good, but we need to behave better. So I'm trying to, because it's hard to, with the other parent, I'm trying to get on board, and
That's an issue with his other parent. He doesn't, there's not like, we would call it instructional control. Like if he's not compliant with her, like he knows that she's just going to give in to anything, that like he can do what he wants or whatever, if that's the case. That's kind of her, like, I don't know that it would change much if she doesn't change, if she doesn't, like apply that. But I would say the best you could do is just keep doing what you're doing. If he behaves awesome in school with you, and then you work with this teacher to, find out, how is he behaving in class? Why is he behaving that way? What can we do to, replace that so he gets what he's kind of seeking, but in an appropriate way in school? That way you can kind of talk to the teacher about that. But if his other parent's not like in, then that's going to keep happening with them.
Yeah, because sometimes it makes me feel like I'm trying to be the bad guy, even though I'm just being the structure, the discipline that he needs, because he thrives on it. I just look at the timeout chair and I just point at it, and I'm like, you want to sit there? You can be back and back, because it's like you said, consistency.
Yes, exactly.
But then the consistency is
he needs
nothing
consistency over there for things to change over there. I mean, the good thing is he's not like that with you, because he knows you're consistent, so he knows that he has that. But that's what I would say. You'd have to communicate with the other parent and then see what you guys can do together, if that's an option.
Is there like I'm sure there is, but like a way to do therapy where he goes with her and they can see how she reacts with her and then reacts with me and then reacts with the family?
We do parent training, and he can be involved in the parent training. So I can give you our number. Yeah. Typically, we'll talk about after, but like insurance and all that. But there's parent training.
Cool.
All right. I guess that's it. All right. Thank you, guys.